Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my subscribers and to the new viewers. Making another video to stay consistent, for mostly for my benefit, so that I just stay in the habit of posting videos. And I thought that this video I would talk a little bit more about real-time shifts, my one-time slip experience, and other anomalies that I consider to be quantum effects in my personal life. If any of you are subscribers to Guy Fauqes' channel, I covered a few of these in my interview with him, and I'll post that link to his video in the description. So I'll start with my first real-time shift. Back in October, I had gone to the pumpkin patch and grabbed some pumpkins with my daughter, and we chose to paint them. And we decided to place them outside after we'd painted them. One of the pumpkins I had painted trick or treat on one side and a jack-o'-lantern face on the other side. When placing them on the windowsill, I had placed that particular pumpkin with the trick or treat facing into the window so that we could see the trick or treat from inside, and the jack-o'-lantern face pointed out towards the street. About an hour later, my daughter and I were sitting watching a movie, and something had caught my attention out the corner of my eye towards the window, and when I looked to see what had caught my eye, nothing was there, obviously, but I glanced at the pumpkin, and the jack-o'-lantern face was pointed into the house instead of out towards the street. And I turned to my daughter and I asked her if she had played with the pumpkins, and she said, "No, I haven't touched them, Mom." And she looked out the window. She goes, "Well, I thought you put the face pointed out." So I said, "I did too." And I probably got up and, turned it back around, but in the hour's time, no one had touched those pumpkins, and the trick-or-treat was not pointed the way I had pointed it. And just shortly after that, my next real-time shift was probably the most disturbing real-time shift, just because it involved my daughter. But it was in November, and she had come to bed with me in the middle of the night because she had had a nightmare. And I sleep like crap when she's in my bed because she's a mover and a shaker. But I had gotten up in the morning with my alarms. I didn't turn any lights on in the room. I didn't want to disturb her. Got up, went out into the kitchen, turned on my coffee, sat and had a cup of coffee before I decided it was time to wake my daughter up for school. And started to head toward my room to wake up my daughter, and as I'm opening my door, I hear "Mommy" from her bedroom. I turned around and I said, "Well, when did you move back to your bed?" Because I hadn't heard any little feet. And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You came and slept in my bed last night." She goes, "Mommy, no, I didn't." I said, "Yes, you did." I said, "I heard you sucking your thumb next to me this morning." She goes, "No, Mommy, I didn't." And I come in my room and turn the light on, and sure enough, my bed sheets reflect that she had never been in my bed. But I know that she had, because when I woke up and decided to leave the lights off, it was because I could hear her sucking on her thumb and doing her sleeping noises. So I was a little put off by that. I was actually kind of really put off by that for a couple of days, actually. And in and around those times, morning in October, I was going through my trip tracker, getting caught up on categorizing my trips for my mileage. And I came to one, and it was a normal route that I take on my way home from work, but something didn't look right, and I sat there and looked at it for a minute, and then I realized that the trip that I was looking at, this was at like 8:20 in the morning, and the time and date stamp for the return trip back from work was for that very same day at 5:50 in the evening. It was 8:20 in the morning, and this trip happened later in the day, but was in my trip tracker. What's odd enough is that I never actually ended up making that trip because my day ended sooner than I anticipated. However, if I would have gotten done when I had slated to get done, I would have made that exact same trip at that exact same time. Take note that ever since I've felt a day ahead. It's been a task of mindfulness to remember which day of the week it is because I feel like I have already lived an extra day. I call that a time slip. I have no recollection of that day that passed. It was as if I lived a day and had every memory of that wiped and got returned to that very moment where I saw that trip tracker trip in my app. Lots of other little strange quantum effect changes in my personal life. I have, I'm in an older home and the renovations haven't been all that great. The carpeting in the front living room has a seam that runs through it, and through the summer and first part of the school year, the accent chair that I have was had a leg sitting on the seam, and it started to create a hole in it. And I was getting really irritated because, like, oh man, I'm gonna have to pay to get this fixed. And I started to have the strings coming out. In fact, when I was playing games with my daughter, I had, picked out a string. It's kind of, one of those irritating things you just poke and prod at. And actually, like 2 weeks after pulling that string out of that hole in that carpet and adjusting and readjusting that leg so that it would sit on top of the seam instead of into the seam, I went to vacuum, and I was being mindful that I wasn't going to vacuum over that hole and create a worse rip there. And I looked down, and the seam of the carpet was 3 inches off to the side, and there was no hole left in the seam. It's still not there. But it's like, where'd it go? Oh, wait, the seam at this here, had never been underneath, right next to that edge of the leg, so there was no way for a hole to have been created. Doing dishes the other day, I went to put my silverware away, and I have one of those hanging racks, and I'm very OCD. Everything has its place. Everything has a way that it goes. I went to put the silverware back, and it was misaligned. It's, one of those metal racks, and it's like every other row is where you hang the silverware. And it had 3 rows that were all like smooshed up together, which I wouldn't do accidentally because I'm incredibly mindful of where I place things. So I was a little taken aback by that and fixed it, of course, because it bugged me. But then I thought to myself, well, are my other selves and other realities starting to catch on? So I started doing little things. I rearranged how my knife sets are displayed to see if it changes back. I've had a coworker who wasn't the friendliest person. In fact, I did never see her smile for the first like 8 months that I worked where I'm at. And during one of the shifts, the next thing I know, I go to work and she's smiling and laughing and joking, and I actually quite like this new version of her. But there are all kinds of weird little personal things and quantum effects that I pick up on. I've since starting to see the changes have definitely kept my eyes open and peeled for any differences in people I interact with or my immediate surroundings. I'm seeing a lot. There's some debate as to, well, is that a Mandela effect? And my answer is absolutely yes, it is. Can thousands of people corroborate and say that it is a change? No. But it is a change. It's different than my perception. It's out of character for me to put silverware not how it's supposed to go, etc., etc. But, the Mandela effect term, I think, is too narrow to encompass all of the quantum effects that each individual is going to face in their own lives. It's not poor memory. It's not lack of observation. It is an actual change in their personal reality space. I get excited and I get scared and I get perturbed by some of these changes, but it is something that I've accepted as part of regular life now. Curious what everyone else's weird personal quantum effects are, if anyone else has had weird time slips. Please drop your experiences in my comment section. As always, if you have any thoughts on future videos for me to do, I'd be happy to hear those suggestions as well. I don't know if I have a link to my email in my About section or not, but you're always welcome to contact me. Welcome to my quantum affected life, and have a good night.